Guys, I have started a new series, the Sun Eater series, a series that has just recently concluded and, has been beloved and hyped and engaged with and talked about. So I decided to throw my hat into the ring and finally start this series. So today we are going to review The Empire of Silence, book 1 in this 7-book saga, and my thoughts and feelings and concerns. So before we get into that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. But how I would say I thought of this book is I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's very funny. A lot of times when there's a book 1 of a series that a lot of people do not like, to go, oh, this book isn't very good, just get to book 2. Oh, this book is kind of but he steps it up. I usually end up loving those books. I really do. Now, I will disclose this. This is not a 5 out of 5 book for me. So I'm not saying I loved it in that way, but I really did enjoy my time with this. The introduction of Hadrian Marlowe, this world that feels so like lived in, the realisticness of space travel, I thought was really, really cool. Let me kind of nerd out a little bit. For a book 1, I was genuinely surprised. So let's get kind of right into the thing. The plot of this book, I give a 4, because a lot of this plot is very Hadrian goes to A, experiences B, and it forces him to go to C over and over and over and over and over. Where we went, how those things, like once it actually kind of got filled in for the most part, I actually really enjoyed it. I will get into some more of my general complaints, or my more in-depth complaints, I should say, in the spoiler section of this video. The characters, I think outside of Hadrian, the characters are kind of weak. I do like Valka a lot. I thought that Kat is one of the best was one of the best side characters in this book. I was not the biggest fan of the gladiator people and Switch and all them, but I genuinely thought the characters were about a 4 out of 5 because I thought Hadrian alone was very, very, very interesting. Crispin and his dad and the mom, like that whole family dynamic, extremely interesting. I do think, again, it could go down to a 3.5 because, again, I feel like I'd be kind of hyper exaggerating how good the Hadrian stuff is in this book specifically, so I'll probably go 3.5 because, again, a lot of the side supporting cast is kind of I don't really care / like they're not forgettable, but it kind of blends in. The plot of this book is probably a 4. Again, it's like I said, it's very cyclical, but it's enjoyably cyclical because I'm enjoying how we're getting to the different places. The pacing is a 4. I think the middle third / like light middle third, like right before we get to that ending third of the book, is a little slow / rough for me. I thought everything up to it, I was like, I was breezing, I was going. Then we got to there, I was like, this is okay. Like, kind of, it doesn't feel unnecessary. It just felt very like, I had to get this character somewhere, but we have to put them here. So it's like, And the ending third, I was back. I was like, we're in. Lock and load. So for me, the prose of this book is also pretty good. I'd probably give it like a 4 to a 5. Again, I don't necessarily care about prose. I'll just let you guys know if I think it was like something of note. I thought it was good. Again, I don't think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I also would not say like, ew, this is just like anyone could do this. No, I do think Christopher Ruocchio's prose was pretty good. I think ultimately for me, I probably end up giving this book a 4. Maybe to a 4.25 because I genuinely really loved the journey we went on. I just felt that the journey at times got a little dragged out / some of the people that came along the way for the journey were kind of forgettable. But I think that the character interactions and the little hints that Ruocchio gives you, because this is a framed narrative story, had me going, oh, it got me going a little French. Oh. Excuse me, I gotta kind of lock in, see what's going on. But ultimately, you guys, would I recommend this book? Yes. I would say bare minimum to give it a try, right? I don't know what the future of this series is like. I legitimately know nothing about the series aside from the fact that I know he pitched it as like, what if Anakin becoming Darth Vader was a good thing, which I'm a Star Wars like geek to some extent. And so when I heard that, I was like, excuse me, what? I'm interested. But I literally know nothing. Like, I don't know character. I mean, I knew who Hadrian is because everyone talked about him, but I don't even know like anybody else. Like, I don't know plot points. I don't know, oh, like this book has this moment in it. Like, nothing. And I am going to be continuing this series on the channel. I'm going to be getting to that soon. I'm going to try and figure out how I'm trying to do all this stuff content wise, how I want to record and all that. But this book specifically, I actually really enjoyed. I would recommend it. Give it a chance. If the frame narrative is an issue, then maybe just not for you. That's more than okay. But before I go to talk about spoilers, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all of you. I hope this review sort of incentivizes you to read it because, again, I think the combat in this world is fun. I think the actual intergalactic like politics and stuff at play is freaking awesome. I think that the dialogue between the characters are pretty good. I think that Hadrian's story is one that is very engaging if you let it take you there. You kind of have to let go a little bit and let Hadrian kind of guide you on this journey. So guys, I would probably end up giving this a 4 to 4.25, but I highly, highly, highly recommend checking it out. And I will be reviewing the future books. But now we're going into the spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Appreciate you all for stopping by. Spoilers time. Okay, so I thought the stuff post the Colosseum was kind of boring. But before he went on the expedition, so all the stuff with like him trying to be the tutor to the kids and him basically becoming what he wanted to be in the beginning of the book, though, which was a wisest, whatever you want to call it. Him basically kind of wanted to be like his old mentor, who, by the way, oh my, bro. Him getting murked like that blew my mind. I was not expecting Hadrian to be able to get away cleanly. I was like, this is all looking way too easy. But guys, oh my God. When the dad rolled his ass out there, I said, there's no way, right? Nah. Pop. Murked. I was like, oh. And then his fight with Crispin, I thought was awesome. His last moment with his mom is a powerful moment because I think it adds that context of this is the last time. I wish I got to say thank you. Like, and that's why I do think the frame narrative stuff to me is very interesting and appealing because it kind of lets you as a reader determine whether or not you feel more about this being a possible last interaction. So when Hadrian does reveal that was his last interaction with his mother, you can be like, no, that's fine. Like, I didn't find her that interesting, or I thought she was kind of cool, or like, damn, man, like I kind of want to see more of her, or learn more about her, where we got, like, that kind of stuff I thought was like really interesting to do with a frame narrative. That's just me personally. I haven't read a lot of frame narrative stories, so I can't sit here and tell you guys like, oh, like compared it to this book, like it's not very well done. I can't tell you that. I don't know. But I genuinely thought that this book did the frame narrative very interesting. Like, oh my, when he introduces the Phoenix and this dude starts like listing out what he was to him, I was like, excuse me? Who? I was locked. I'm not gonna lie. The titles and stuff, awesome. I will say it was funny / messed up though, where like anytime Hadrian did something good, he'd be like, okay guys, so I just, I helped out these people, but I still committed a genocide, guys. Don't forget I still murdered this entire son. And it's like, okay, bro, damn, I know. I read the beginning. Damn. You don't gotta remind me. I know. I always just thought that was a little bit funny. Like, it would really be, he does anything good, but guys, I still destroyed the sun and murdered this entire, it's like, bruh, I know. You don't gotta tell me. I know. But seeing his like regrets about his past, I think is very interesting. I will say, while I was reading this book, I was like reacting, putting stuff in Discords and stuff, and Seeing what breaks the camel's back is him getting beat up by a bunch of teens with acne is one of the funniest things I've ever read. Like, this dude really got jumped by a bunch of kids with acne, and it made his dad go, I can't do this anymore. You're out of here, bro. I was like, damn. And his mom, who definitely is a lesbian, nothing wrong with that, but it was just hilarious to me. She goes, son, I got you a way out. She got crypto scammed, bro. She sent his ass onto that ship. He ends up in a literal garbage heap, I think, thawed out after like 30 years. And it's just like, oops. Like, this dude, Hadrian, can't catch a break. But then he meets Valka. And Valka is one of my favorite characters in this book. Her wit, her, like, my thing is with Hadrian, the negative I have for him is that he is very like whiny. And what I mean by that is, so like the beginning of the book, he complains about the Colosseum. He doesn't understand like the savages that would like it there and how could you sit there and enjoy it. And I think part of this is like intentional in the story, by the way. But so then Rocchio has him in the Colosseum and he feels it's most comfortable. He has a family there. He feels loved. He feels like he's enjoying what he is doing there. And that's an interesting twist. You know, similar to how he was like, I don't want to be this priest, Dad. I want to be what my mentor was to me, which is like a tutor, a mentor. And he's like that for those two kids. And he's like, this shit is trash. What is this? So for me, I'm like, this is really interesting because, again, like he is still I think he's like 22, 21, like close to my age, early 20s, at late teens, like 19. And there is that reality of like, we think like we want a certain goal or title or job, and then we try and like shadow in it or work in it. We're like, get me out of here, boss. This ain't gonna work for me. So I thought that was actually really well done by Rocchio. And I think the Sealson stuff, I think what's incredible about the Sealson stuff so far, at least, again, only on book one, I know nothing else, is that it is not a black and white tale. And what I mean by that is, it'd be very easy for Rocchio to have this group of people, you know, blatantly labeled as savages and whatnot by the civilized human race, end up just being these kind, exploring, loving people that are just blatantly miscast because they're defending themselves. No. There's a mix of this shit. Because some of them are very kind. Like, you know, the captain who's willing to, you know, put his faith in Hadrian, in humanity, to try and end this war. Versus the other guy that the second he broke out, he is murdering people. Violently murdering people. And they are cannibals sometimes because they feel like it. It's like, huh? But I think that because it's not a black and white tale, because it's not just a classical like colonizer versus colonized kind of ordeal, I think that makes this upcoming arc, or whatever you want to call it, where he and the Phoenix and Valka are going on this little expedition, it's going to be a million times more interesting now, because we're going to be learning more about the Seals, and because I get to learn about what Hadrian thinks about them and how it gets to a point where he ends up blowing them all up and reminding me every other 20 pages after he does something half decent. I think that this book is actually really fun. And again, the space travel stuff and the fact that they can't just, you know, Star Wars hyperspace, and it's not going to just be like, okay, well, I want to go from here to here, so we light speed and boom, we're there, and it's been, I don't know, 2 days. No. If they're traveling from one planet to another, it'll be however many years of time. You could cryogenically freeze yourself, right? Like a lot of these people, I think Hadrian talks about in the story, like, you know, some of these people who are basically the higher ups that are genetically modified live for thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. That's in part because you got to travel places. So you're not just going to be able to just, well, I'm going to light speed the earth and just zoom. Nope. You're right back over here, buddy. I think it's very interesting too. Again, sort of classical, but the idea that the religion is false. But why is it false? And how does this affect the idea of returning to Earth? And all that stuff I think is really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I don't really get why people dislike it. For the most part, I don't think it's really that bad or slow, or I found it interesting anyway. So let me know what you guys end up thinking about this book. If you are a big time Sun Eater fan, just know I will be continuing on with the series. I think I'll be reading the novella next, The Lesser Devil. I do want to know more about Crispin and what kind of happened in that 30-year gap. From when Hadrian got dumped off by the crypto scammers. I want to learn. And this world has me interested. And Rocchio did a really good job at making me want more. So as always, guys, this was Emster Knows Books. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Are you excited? Are you nervous? What do you guys think? I thank each and every one of you for the love and support on these videos. Have a beautiful rest of your day, guys. Peace out.